Are Shopify audiences still worth it in 2024? I put them to the test and I want to give you my honest opinion and review of Shopify audiences this year as to whether or not you should be utilizing them for your e-commerce brand. If you're new to the channel, you don't yet know who I am. My name is Justin and I'm the founder at paidadvertising.com, an online growth firm specializing in elevating thriving brands by simplifying e-commerce growth. So let's get straight into it. I've put them to the test essentially on one of our accounts lately. And so if you didn't know, by the way, this is only available to Shopify Plus users, which means you have to spend a whopping $2,000 a month for it to be activated as a feature for your business. But a couple of things that Shopify released in their latest waves of updates for it. I mean, now there's more integrations with Shopify audiences than the last time I made a video about it. You can integrate it on Facebook, Google, TikTok, so on and so forth. And there's also performance benchmarks, which I think this is very interesting. If you have not yet watched it, this is my video number 1. It was recorded, let me try and check, January 6th, 2023. So a little over a year and a month ago at the time of recording this video, I recorded my previous video reviewing Shopify audiences. The verdict in that video was it's not really worth it. I had put them to a test here with quite a lot more ad spend than this account I'm about to show you in a second. But essentially I had spent in that video, and it showed that one of the ad sets spent, where was it, right here, about $142, and the other one spent about $400, and both of them got okay results, but were by far underperforming essentially our lookalike audiences back then, which I'm not using anymore. If you've been looking at the channel, I'm a lot more towards broad audiences now. So that said, now looking into the new account that I want to share in this video, I'll show you through this new account whether or not my advice has changed when it comes to the use of Shopify audiences. So essentially, Shopify's way of marketing that as a feature is that this is first-party data owned by Shopify. So it comes from your store, yes, but also from the many different users of Shopify. So all in all, it's Shopify looking through all of their stores, seeing who's similar to your customers across all of the customers they have on their side, feeding you this data so that you can upload it to the ads manager. And it's not going any against laws or whatever, because they're not really giving you a customer list to export and import into the ads manager. They're simply syncing an automatic audience with Meta. So as an example, the audiences list that they're giving us for Meta for this client is this, right? There's retargeting boost, they call it. There's prospecting and a lookalike, which are automatically synced essentially on Meta. So this one says it refreshes every 7 days. It's a 1.6 million people audience, which is quite funny, by the way, because if you look at Meta's latest article, they recommended that you should have over 2 million people in an audience, especially for an e-commerce brand. So this was an email I got lately from Meta in itself, and it leads you to an article that speaks to the same, which Meta says that the most optimal audience size for an e-commerce business usually is about 2 to 10 million people within this. Whereas if you head back to this here, it's only 1.6 in that one. 1.6 is alright for a local business, 1.6 for an e-com business, especially with the high budgets we're sometimes managing here at the agency. It is quite constraining. You'd want to have a much bigger audience than this, hopefully, when advertising. Now, retargeting boost, well, first of all, there's only 20,000 people in that audience. So this is not really that big of an audience, first and foremost, for that client, at least specifically, right? It says it right here, it says add to existing retargeting ad sets to reach people who've engaged with your brand but haven't yet purchased. I'm of the advice, once again now, that we should do broad with no exclusions. That way you don't exclude recent purchasers or whatnot, you just kind of leave it open, and Meta figures out, whether to spend more on retargeting, whether to spend more on new customers, and usually we get a very healthy split from going broad, right? But again, decided to put it to the test, which I'll show you in a second. Now, one thing that I think is very useful and that is starting to take a lot of space in this industry is benchmarks. That wasn't something that was openly discussed before. Triple Wall has the same thing now. They literally also call it benchmarks on Triple Wall, which shows you how you compare against the average brand in your space. They show you a bunch of metrics, more specifically usually like ad metrics. So they'll show you Facebook ad metrics and such for your industry versus what the average brand has. Whereas here, I think it's very interesting because it shows you, yes, ad metrics, so like click-through rate or CPM and such, but more specifically, it shows you also store metrics, like how's your AOV comparing, how's your conversion rate. Conversion rate, I think, is a big one that you don't get on necessarily through Triple Wall benchmarks, actually. So that's one that is new right here. One tool that I'm testing out right now, I'm not yet having a full conclusion to present to you guys, but I will in the next couple of weeks on the channel, is Veros, actually, which I was recommended by one of our students within my private community who's been using that with one of his clients. Essentially, they view themselves as like the largest e-commerce SaaS data co-op in the world. They have about 4,500 clients. They got a lot of agencies using this too, which they use it across all of their clients. So you can see how exponential this gets. It says 4 billion in ad spend tracked annually. And then what you can do is you can benchmark literally any single metric in your store of any ad platform or of Shopify in itself. So literally any metric against brands in a similar bucket as you. So similar industry, similar ad spend, similar revenue. So that way you can really see like, all right, these guys are in the same market as me. They're direct competitors. They literally spend almost as much as me. Here's how I compare against the average brand in my space. And you can also see your percentile with this tool. But again, I don't yet have a full conclusion. I'll revert back to you guys on that. But if I head back to my, there you go, Shopify right here, I think this is quite neat. Honestly, just for the clients that we have that do have Shopify Plus. Because look, as an example, that client at a quick glance, looking at it right here, where I see the areas of improvements is into conversion rate and CPA. Those are the main two things that they need to improve on. We've already know that CPA is too high. When we look at it here, I don't know where they base themselves off of, by the way. They say click-through rates for Meta is like 1.59%. I don't know if they go all clicks. Honestly, I don't know what they do. Outbound CTR, I'll show you in a second, on Facebook. Last month was like 3.63%. So this is actually higher than what this looks. So again, I don't know what they base themselves off of to give you that number, but the main opportunity we've seen with that client times and times again is the conversion rate, right? The average store in, where is it? The conversion rate is, there you go, right here. The average store in their niche and industry converts at about 5%. They convert at 0.9%. And that's been a big bottleneck for these guys. We're sending a bunch of traffic's just not converting, essentially. Click-through rate keeps going up and up and up. We're optimizing CPM, but again, just not really working. So with that said, let's now hop over to the ads manager to show you the results. So I'll show you what a typical campaign looks like. Again, it's about 1.2 ROAS. They're really not doing amazing on Facebook in itself. They're doing better on Google, and overall blended ROAS is healthy for the brand. On platform for Facebook, we've been trying to work with them and improve conversion rate. It's been something that's been killing us for a little bit now. Because if you can look at it right here, in the last month, we got 3.67% click-through rate. Our main campaign that we're pushing the most spend to, it is a broad campaign. By the way, that could be a topic for another video, but we did try an A+ campaign versus a broad targeting campaign with a DCT model with very similar ads. And here was the difference between these two campaigns actually. This one has literally twice the click-through rate of this other one. If you looked at it, again, slightly lower ROAS here, but at the same time, this is a lot more spend, 7 times the ad spend on this campaign. And if you did the manual math, 71 sales divided by 6,000 people that we sent through store, 6,000 is about 1% roughly ad conversion rate. Typically, a healthy ad account of ours will see 4, 5, 6% ad conversion rate. Keep in mind, this is not website conversion rate. This is ad conversion rate. Usually website conversion rate should be slightly higher than your ad conversion rate, 99% of the time. Because again, the ads are targeting cold audiences. Your website has both cold and some retargeting or organic and essentially from email and SMS, which makes the website conversion rate look better than it is usually within the ads. Here, if ad conversion rate is 1.06%, we know there's a lot of improvements needed to be made on that front. Now, that is what a typical campaign looks like. Let me show you what, and we barely spent anything because I wasn't too confident in these Shopify audiences, but let me show you nonetheless what the 40 bucks in ad spend got us for that client. So only spent 40 bucks, got one sale. You look at this, ROAS looks great, yay, but soft metrics just weren't there. Now, if we looked at it right here, and quite frankly, again, in a lot of other accounts, I've tried to scale Shopify audiences. I never was able to. One thing that leads me to prematurely kill an ad set or a campaign is if my CPM or cost per click is just 2 to 3 times higher than my usual average within a couple of hours after launching this campaign, I'll just kill it, because that usually is a bug from Meta. But then if we try to relaunch it and the same thing happens, we just know there's something wrong with the structure of either this account or this new campaign or these new ad sets. That was the case here. Look at both of these ad sets. CPM was 50 bucks and was $27, which is 2 times and 3.5 times higher than the overall account average. Look at CTR, was much lower than the account average we were getting usually for, again, the kind of same best performing ads put into this account. Some of you might be wondering, Justin, why didn't you spend more on these ad sets? Quite frankly, the preliminary signs that we had weren't good enough, and I just don't see how this could have changed with more spend or scaled. I've got this thing which, again, sometimes for some reason Meta, in the first 6 to 12 hours of you launching a new ad set or campaign, CPM is sky high. Typically what we'll just do is we'll kill it, duplicate it, launch it again, see if it goes down, and usually it'll go down pretty much all the time. Now, this wasn't the case. CPM stayed up for, again, a lot more than that 6-12 hour period. So we just decided, look, this is not worth our time and focus. Number one, audience size is limited to about 1.6 million people at best. Number two, CTR is slightly lower than a typical campaigns. Three, I mean, yes, it got one sale early, but that client's been a recurring pattern. Every time we launch a new ad set or ad, it'll usually get very good results within the first couple of hours. For some reason, again, it's every account seems to have its own quirks and patterns. One thing that we've noticed with our media buyer in-house is that this account, every time we launch something new, we think it's going to be the best winning ad within the first day. It always looks that way, and then it goes down after. Always. It kind of looks like this. It's a 6, it's a 7x or whatever within the first day, and then day 2, 3, it goes back down to this 1.5, and then kind of sticks there. So just the first day or beginner's luck if you want. So that said, my conclusion is the same as last year. Does it work? Is Shopify Audiences worth it? I mean, it's okay. It gets us, decent results, as you can see here. Got us one sale with 18 bucks in ad spend. Great. But does it scale? I've never seen it scale. Does it have as good as a CPM as the other ad sets? It didn't last year. It still doesn't. Does it have as good of a soft metric performance? It doesn't. Personally, I don't see the interest with it. I don't see myself using Shopify Audiences unless something else changes in the future. Again, I'm open to trying new media buying techniques. I'm going where the results are usually the best, but it's always about finding the simplest ad account structure and where you can have the highest leverage outputs in an ad account, which if you can keep broad audiences, if you can never have to worry about your audience size because it's as big as it can be, and the one thing that you have to focus on is creatives, I'm still opting for that after putting very small amount of ad spend on Shopify Audiences this year and putting about 500 bucks last year on Shopify Audiences. I still really don't see myself using them. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have and you are an e-commerce brand wanting to partner with the TikTok, Facebook, and Google ads, partner for your performance creatives as well as media buying, click the link down below and book in a call to speak to our team today. And on that note, if you want to learn more about how we run ads, how we set up our campaigns, and just more specifically, our research plan for finding winning ad creatives when you're targeting broad audiences, also check out the description down below and join our free school community. On that note, gonna wish you an amazing day. Check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce marketing tips, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.